Game of Thrones last season, episode 5, The Bells, is now over, and King's Landing is also over. And this episode starts off, and we're seeing this kind of different form of Daenerys. She knows that people know who Jon is, and people want to make his claim to the throne even better than hers is. Let's bring in our panel. We've added one to our panel. We keep expanding. Reese Waters is joining us today. Jake Stevens, June Signaris, Marley Austin, and our wonderful weekend morning producer, Heather Case. So let's start off, everybody, and talk about what unfolds leading up to Varys' death.
I mean, didn't Varys die like right after the opening credits?
Pretty much.
I went to the kitchen, and by the time I came back, Varys was burnt up. He was a two-piece with sides.
He was burnt up.
It kind of irritates me that Varys got killed for something that I think both Tyrion and Jon are also equally culpable in.
A man who's seen multiple reigns of kings and queens and
Right.
has survived just Lord knows what else, and then this is his moment where it just goes by really quickly.
I don't think she says you've done A, B, and C, but we do see him. It looks like he's been trying to write things. He's got another little bird who is apparently spying and or actively trying to do something to Daenerys.
Greater the risk, the greater the reward.
And we see him burn a scroll that he was writing before as he's hearing the guards come in to get him. But I wonder whether or not any other scrolls were sent off. And I did see a close-up later that said Rhaegar, which would have been Jon's father's name. So you wonder if he got anything sent off to other people to spread the word about Jon's parentage.
To your point, Marley, I think one of the indictments of the season is that they have plot points they're trying to hit, and they sacrifice character development and consistency to hit those plot points. So yes, I totally agree in that circumstance. Tyrion probably is the first one to go because he's your hand and he betrayed you, but that's not the plot point. The plot point is Varys goes. So again, that's very in line with the frustration of the whole season.
But also, Varys is the one who's going to dissent that information, where Tyrion is very much holding it up. Varys is the only person Tyrion told. Varys is going to go tell everybody.
Yeah, he knew he was the master of whispers and he'd get it out. But Varys and Tyrion, they were kind of going back and forth, debating, is she going to go crazy or can she try to safely take the city without taking her dragon and obliterating and killing tens of thousands of people? And this episode goes the worst way, right?
Well, there have been nuggets dropped along the way. You can go back seasons and find nuggets of this. You know, her tendency to burn first, that sort of thing. People trying to talk her out of burning things. But the indiscriminate killing of innocent civilians would have been better with a little bit more development and to maybe see more of a snap than just her sitting there staring at the Red Keep as the bells rang.
See, my reaction to the burning of King's Landing was muted because I kept assuming on one of the mini passes she was going to come for Cersei. At some, I was like, okay, now this is how, okay, no, now she got 3rd Street. Okay, no, she got Pine Street.
Right.
And so it didn't occur to me, she's really gonna burn all of King's Landing while Cersei just standing there like an owner, like Red Auerbach smoking a cigar, watching the whole thing.
That moment is even funnier to me when you cut wide and it's that fantastic shot of you see Drogon burning through the city, but you see the distance at which he is. He's still like in the first 25% of the city. He hasn't even come close to getting to where the actual villain of this season is, of this show. And to what you were saying earlier, Jake, it's like one of the biggest villains, arguably, of TV history, whittled down to just drinking wine out of a window.
Yeah, and her death. Like, the most sinister character, and you give her this beautifully poetic death where she dies in the arms of her lover / brother, who, by the way, 7 years of building up, just down the drain.
Nothing else matters.
There were some poetic deaths in this episode. Hers wasn't one of them.
I was left uneasy, feeling like this is where it ends.
She feels a little more victim-y than she should.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
And George R.R. Martin has flipped the script on lots of things in this book, and sometimes the showrunners have held true to that. But I think the poetic death were the Clegane brothers. I mean, that was justice to their entire storyline of the whole time. So that to me worked, and I think if every single person who died in this episode got something poetic, it would have been kind of like, oh, well, today we'd be saying, oh, well, they fell back into typical standard fantasy, blah, blah, blah. The people who deserved it got what they deserved, and the people who needed heroic deaths got heroic deaths. So I just think it can't shake out where everybody gets the death you want for them.
Then leading up to it, You have Arya, who for 7 seasons has been pretty much training and becoming who she is. She's trained with death. She's seen imminent death in the Night King. And then, what, 2 minutes after, she tells this Lannister guard,
I'm going to kill Queen Cersei.
And then she walks inside and he's like,
Look at me! You want to be like me?
Sandor, thank you.
Really? 7 years of, oh, I'm going to kill Cersei, to just, nope, not about it. And then you find a white horse and ride off into the sunset.
We'll see,
Last season, she was headed for King's Landing, and she turned around when she heard that her family, that members of her family were back at Winterfell. So I thought that was a nice, touching moment there.
Well, I'm going to go and wrap this up. We have one last episode left. A lot's going to happen. Probably, again, not great writing, as you guys have been saying. And we'll see how it ends, and we'll do one final panel next week to kind of wrap everything up. And hopefully it's a better ending than we all think.